China just built a 700-kilometer canal so powerful, it's forcing the world to rethink what modern infrastructure can do. This waterway lets ocean-class cargo ships sail inland, redrawing the map of Chinese logistics and global influence. And it's bad news for the US, where some bridges can't even hold a school bus without risk of collapse. The Jianghuai Grand Canal isn't just concrete, it's China's next move in a long game to dominate. This canal could make China economically unstoppable, stretching an astonishing 723 kilometers, longer than the distance from New York to Pittsburgh. The Jianghuai Grand Canal has officially opened. What China has created here is a strategic artery, capable of carrying ocean-class ships, vessels up to 100,000 tons, deep into the country's landlocked interior. To be clear, these aren't barges or small inland vessels. These are the same steel giants you'd expect to see pulling into Shanghai or Rotterdam, now sailing through farmland and factory zones in central China. And they're doing it thanks to one of the most complex, expensive, and transformative water infrastructure projects in Chinese history. The Jianghuai Canal is now the second super canal in China's inland shipping system, following the ancient and heavily upgraded Beijing-Hangzhou Grand Canal. But this one, it's built from scratch. A modern marvel designed not only to move goods, but to completely shift how a country thinks about geography, trade, and power. Let's break that down. Historically, China's coastal regions, places like Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Guangzhou, have dominated trade, logistics, and wealth generation. That's because they had access to global ports, deep water harbors, and investment-heavy infrastructure. In contrast, provinces like Anhui, Henan, and Hunan, despite being industrial and agricultural powerhouses, have remained economically constrained. The Huai River Basin, which spans large parts of central and eastern China, has long suffered from poor navigability. Shallow water, unpredictable flows, and seasonal flooding made it unreliable for heavy freight. Sediment deposits from the Yellow River turned entire stretches into silt-clogged choke points. In dry seasons, water levels dropped too low to float even mid-sized vessels. In wet seasons, it flooded. The result? Billions of dollars lost in logistical inefficiency, and a long-standing economic imbalance between China's vibrant coast and its neglected inland core. The Jianghuai Canal changes all of that, almost overnight. From an engineering standpoint, the Jianghuai Grand Canal is a masterpiece of modern civil design. Built to accommodate ships over 100 meters long, it integrates deep dredged channels, floodgates, pumping stations, and reinforced embankments. It was constructed to the highest national standard for inland navigation, meaning it has the same transport capacity as two double-track freight railways running side by side. For context, a standard 500-ton barge, common in older inland river systems, has roughly the capacity of one single-track train line. This new canal, it's 200 times more capable in terms of tonnage per kilometer per day. And unlike rail, waterborne transport is 80% more fuel efficient and significantly cheaper over long distances. The canal links the Yangtze River in the south, one of the world's busiest waterways, with the Huai River in the north. That's not just a connection between two bodies of water. That's a lifeline between China's most developed river system and one of its most underutilized. Before this, ships from inland cities like Fuyang or Zhuku had to make long, costly detours, sailing east to reach the Huai, then south through congested waterways in Jiangsu province, then west again to access the Yangtze. The trip added 300 kilometers and up to 3 extra days of transit time. Now, with the Jianghuai Canal, ships can travel in a straight shot, saving time, fuel, and money. The economic payoff is massive. According to official projections, the canal will slash logistics costs by 20% across the connected provinces. That translates to over 6 billion yuan, nearly $1 billion US, saved annually on freight movement alone. But the real value is in the chain reaction it triggers. Factories once isolated by geography are now within reach of global ports. Agricultural goods, steel, coal, cement, commodities that were once too costly to ship by road or rail, can now flow directly to export terminals. This unlocks huge new trade potential for cities that were previously considered second tier or logistically irrelevant. Take Hefei, the capital of Anhui province. Until now, its water access was limited to narrow, shallow rivers like the Pai. Freight had to move by truck or train, limiting volume and raising costs. With the new canal feeding into Jianghuai Lake, Hefei is being transformed into a modern inland port. Other cities are following suit. Zhoukou, Luan, Bozhou, once economically stagnant, are now rushing to build port infrastructure, position themselves as logistics hubs, and attract manufacturers looking for lower shipping costs and faster delivery windows. On paper, the canal is a domestic project. In reality, it's a geopolitical signal. While the United States grapples with aging bridges, gridlocked infrastructure bills, and port bottlenecks, China is moving cargo with ocean ships, hundreds of kilometers inland. And it's doing it while cleaning rivers, cutting emissions, and expanding trade, all in one move. The Jianghuai Grand Canal is a message to the world's super nations. At first glance, the Jianghuai Grand Canal looks like an overnight success, a dazzling showcase of China's engineering might. But this canal is actually the product of a 70-year vision, buried, shelved, and resurrected by a nation that plays the long game. Fast forward to the 2010s, and China had become a global economic superpower with trillions in infrastructure experience, from high-speed rail to megadams and artificial islands. In 2015, the Jianghuai Canal project was officially greenlit. Construction began in 2017. And by 2024, after just 7 years, the canal was open for business. That speed alone is staggering. The canal cuts through 4 major provinces: Hubei, Anhui, Jiangsu, and Henan. In most countries, coordinating between even 2 states on a shared infrastructure project would be a bureaucratic nightmare. But China's centralized governance model allows it to push through large-scale, cross-provincial plans without the delays of partisan gridlock, lawsuits, or public pushback. The result? Integrated logistics and water systems that work like a single machine. While China was building the Jianghuai Canal, the United States, the world's other economic superpower, was debating basic infrastructure spending. The American Society of Civil Engineers gives the US a C- rating for its infrastructure. Entire sections of freight rail are outdated. Bridges collapse under school buses. Port congestion can take weeks to clear. Meanwhile, China is sailing container ships through farmland, with better efficiency and lower emissions than trucks or trains. And China isn't done. Plans are already in motion to extend the canal deeper into drought-prone regions of northern Anhui and southern Henan. A new web of feeder canals, tunnels, and pumping stations will bring Yangtze water into places that once relied on unpredictable rain or inefficient trucking routes. It's water security, energy savings, and climate resilience baked into infrastructure. China is showing what's possible when a nation invests not just in roads and bridges, but in systems that solve multiple problems at once. When most people think of megacanals, they think about cargo, about trade, speed, and profit. But China's Jianghuai Grand Canal is quietly doing something that almost no other infrastructure project in the world is managing to pull off. It's turning a toxic, flood-prone river system into a functioning ecosystem, and it's doing it while boosting the economy. Let's start with the Huai River Basin, a region once called the ecological headache of central China. For decades, this basin suffered from the worst combination of water issues imaginable. Extreme seasonal flooding caused by sediment from the Yellow River, devastating droughts during dry months, and industrial pollution that transformed lakes and wetlands into dead zones. This canal is doing something radical. It's diverting clean water from the Yangtze River, one of the most stable and abundant freshwater systems in China, and pumping it north into the Huai River and its tributaries. What sounds like a simple water transfer is actually a precision-engineered ecological reset. But environmental benefits don't stop at water quality. The Jianghuai Canal is also a massive emissions reducer. Moving cargo by ship is far more efficient than moving it by truck or rail. Per ton of freight, ships use significantly less fuel and emit far less CO2. In fact, inland water transport is often up to 80% more fuel efficient than road freight. In its first phase alone, this canal is projected to cut over 180,000 tons of carbon emissions per year. That's the equivalent of taking nearly 40,000 cars off the road annually. China built a carbon-cutting freight highway, one that operates on the logic of sustainability. not just speed. By stabilizing water flows in the Huai Basin, China is improving food production, reducing disaster risk, and controlling urban expansion in one of its most populated regions. That's not just environmental policy, that's strategic resource control. In the era of climate change, water is power. And China is making sure that it can move that power where and when it's needed. During dry seasons, water can be pumped into thirsty agricultural zones. During flood seasons, the canal acts as a pressure valve, dispersing water away from critical infrastructure. And during periods of industrial peak demand, consistent water supply ensures uninterrupted production. This kind of hydraulic agility gives China options, and options are leverage. Meanwhile, the West struggles to build even basic flood protection or secure reliable irrigation systems in the face of climate volatility. The Jianghuai Canal isn't just a hedge against future shocks, it's an active instrument of resilience, playing both offense and defense. The Jianghuai Grand Canal is more than a canal. It's a green infrastructure model, one that shows how you can build systems that drive economic growth, enhance food security, cut emissions, restore nature, and strengthen national stability all at once. This is the kind of thinking most governments talk about, but rarely execute. While Western countries pour billions into outdated rail networks or repair failing highways, China is building future-proof systems that solve multiple problems simultaneously. That's what makes this project so powerful and so dangerous to ignore. This canal unlocks inland China and makes it globally relevant. It transforms struggling cities into hubs of trade, investment, and innovation. And in doing so, it highlights a painful truth for the rest of the world. China is playing the long game, and they're winning.